Yes, I'm very proud of being a
Yes.
CPA too.
Yes.
Being an accountant and being a CPA, it looks like the same but not the same. And so as being a CPA, what made you decide to be a CPA instead of just being a regular accountant?
For me, it was the credibility and really being part, I'm using the quotes, like an elite group, right? When I was in my classes, a lot of times they would say, you have to be the ethical voice. You have to have that integrity. And I remember sitting in one of my law classes and they said, it's the difference, it's fact and appearance, right? So it's ethics on both sides. And to me, that meant something different than just it's ethics in the facts, right? Okay, everybody sees what the facts are and they know, okay, this is the ethical, well, most everyone, this is the ethical path to take. But when they said appearance, that to me brought another level to the ethics and integrity by speaking to how does it look? And if it doesn't look right, it's not right, right? So to me, I thought, oh, if I can try to just have that in the world that I move into, and if I can stand for that, that to me was something different, kind of like being a doctor or a lawyer. I was going to be a CPA and have that integrity and that trust that, maybe other professions don't always have, right? You trust your doctor. You trust when you go to an attorney that they're going to give you the best advice. When you go to a CPA, you trust they're going to give you that. That's why we say trusted advisor. They're going to give you that advice that isn't tainted necessarily by their personal opinion, but it's really what's best for you because they listen to what you need. They listen to where you're at. So that just spoke to me, and I thought I'm going to be held up as, a real professional in the business world. And so that's why I did it. And I'm glad I did because I'm very proud of having my CPA.
Yes, I'm very proud of being a CPA too.
Yes.
You mentioned about trust. This is really important because your clients trust you. Your family, your friends trust you, trust your advice, what you want to tell them. Now talking about trust, I'm wondering how you build your trust throughout your career from being a senior accountant to become a manager, to become a CEO and CFO. What was the most challenge for you through that time period?
I think it's really trying to connect, kind of in that trust. So how do you connect with what it's not clients, but your businesses, those that you are supporting? How do you make sure that you really understand what their needs are and are transparent with them? Because they're trusting your advice, right? Like you said. So it's really trying to be clear with what their needs are so that you can meet their needs. So that kind of that needs and wants. And I would say too, listening really and communicating clearly. You've got to listen and try to connect the dots. I think that's the hardest part when you go from I was a senior director of accounting and tax, and then I moved into the CFO role, COO and CEO. And to me, it's really trying to make sure that you're always representing the right information to help them to get to that next level. And also having confidence in yourself, right? I think sometimes that's difficult to, know what you're talking about, but you have to make sure that you also exude that confidence when you're having conversations and connect the dots for them. So when you're a senior director, you have more of the dots and you don't connect as many, but as you move into those leadership positions, you really need to see the bigger picture and be able to connect it for those individuals that you're supporting, right? Like clients. You see, if you're doing the taxes, you see all the pieces, but how do you connect those dots and say, well, when I'm looking at planning, here's what I'm seeing, and I'm connecting those for you. And I think that's the piece that everyone needs to remember as they move up through leadership. How do you connect those for those individuals you're supporting? Because they are relying on you, and you have to make sure that you can meet their needs, right? So I think that's the piece, that's the biggest challenge, is moving through and connecting those.
So when you're talking about connecting the dots, you mentioned a lot about clients. How about people you manage? How about your staff? Do you have any issues about that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because they rely on you also to connect those dots, to help them to get to where they need to go and be successful. And I always say leadership is a privilege. It's a privilege and an honor. And if you're in a position like that, you have to make sure that you are doing what's best for the team you're leading, right? So making sure that you can help see the vision for them and help them to get to where they need to go, that's really important and key. Because if someone doesn't see the bigger picture, I'll just give you an example. There was a story about a man he worked at NASA, and he was a janitor. And someone had asked him, what are you doing? What's your job? And he said, my job is to put a man on the moon. He understood the connecting of the dots. He understood where they were trying to go. And he felt his job was so important and critical. He was trying to put a man on the moon, right? That's what you need to do as a leader and as a visionary, is make your team understand where you need to go to help them be as successful as they can be. And I think that's a really good story.
That's a very good story to share, and also it's very difficult to work with staff a lot of times as well, because training staff is one of the most challenging job, I feel like, because you have to not just only show them what the right work that should be, but you need to show them, motivate them, encourage them, and also saying that when they do wrong, you need to be very patient. That's my point is of patience here. It's not easy, especially for new staff. They are smart, they're hardworking, but they just don't get the concept yet. How can you manage your patience when you're dealing with staff?
I think first you have to remember that you were there too, right? And so it's important to put yourself a lot of times in others' shoes. So you were there too. See, I think you have to step back. I always step back and take a breath. I think breathing is key, to say, okay, take a breath, reset, sometimes resetting. So where are we going? What are we trying to do? And then looking at the bigger picture of the outcome, right? Or the impact. I think if you can do that and see, and both together say, where are we going? What's the impact we want to make? And then outlining together that path. I think that's important, because you're a partner, right? And you need a partner to move forward. But it's a lot of times you got to take that breath. I did that when I was raising my son too. You need to always, to get that patience, you need to take a breath, right? And take a beat, sometimes we say, and then regroup, reset, and then move forward. I think that's how you get the patience. It's very hard because the world is moving so fast. And so how do you make sure that you don't move that fast too, so that you disenfranchise or lose people? You don't want to lose good people, right? And so sometimes you got to take a breath and reset. That would be my advice.